You ever feel like you're living your life based on a bunch of unwritten rules? Rules you never actually agreed to? Well, today, we're going to explore a completely different way of doing things. It's not about adding more restrictions to your life, but about consciously designing a life that actually feels like, well, you. We're going to talk about how to build your very own architecture of intention.
Wow, this really just gets straight to the point, doesn't it? I mean, making a choice in the heat of the moment, that's one thing. But living with the consequences, the ripple effects of that choice, day in and day out, that's the tough part. That's where life really happens. So if that's the case, where do we even begin to build a life that feels right?
Okay, so just like with any building project, before you can build something new and beautiful, you've got to clear the ground. And that means we need to identify and tear down all the harmful scaffolding. All those social habits and scripts that we just picked up along the way without ever really questioning them. And the tool we're going to use for this little demolition project, it's simple, but it is so powerful. The phrase, I don't.
Let's start with our first I don't. This one might seem pretty small, almost like what's the big deal? But think about it. We ask someone's age as this weird shortcut, right? A way to quickly put them in a box. Are they ahead, behind, too young for this, too old for that? When you just stop asking, you completely dismantle that entire knee-jerk judgment process.
Because at the end of the day, real experience, real wisdom, it isn't tied to a number. It just isn't. And when we get rid of that label, we're actually forced to see the person right in front of us, their story, their energy, their unique perspective. It's such a simple way to push back against the subtle harm of ageism, whether you're judging someone for being too young or too old.
All right, the next piece of scaffolding we can tear down is just as common and maybe even more loaded: money. Asking what someone makes has become this default way we size each other up, a quick and dirty way to measure success. Choosing not to play that game? That's a quiet little rebellion against this whole system of comparison.
And look, let's be real. Money absolutely matters. We need it to live, to be secure. But using it as a yardstick to measure a person's worth, that is a game you will never, ever win. When you stop asking, you're not just giving them the space to be on their own journey. You're actually protecting your own peace of mind from that toxic, endless cycle of comparison.
So our third I don't takes on something that often pretends to be about connection: gossip. I mean, it can feel like a social glue, right? But it's a really cheap glue mixed with a whole lot of negativity. Choosing to be silent when it starts up isn't being passive. It is an active, conscious refusal to help build something that hurts people.
Really, what it comes down to is this. It's an act of compassion for the person who isn't there to defend themselves, and it's an act of self-respect. It means you have to be okay with maybe seeming a little uncool or out of the loop for a minute. But trust me, the integrity you keep in that moment is worth so much more.
Okay, so we've done some demolition. We've cleared the ground by deciding what we don't do anymore. But, an empty lot is not a home. Now it's time to lay a really strong foundation. And this part is built not by taking things away, but by making conscious, active choices, the things we intentionally decide we do.
This really lays out the two paths, doesn't it? Over on one side, you've got forced belonging. It's all about pretending, dealing with the noise, feeling that sense of obligation. It's exhausting. But on the other side, you have the quiet strength of chosen distance. Sure, it might mean your social circle gets a little smaller, but look what you get in return: peace, authenticity, and intention.
And this is that idea in practice. It's having the courage to say no thank you to those invitations that you know are just going to drain you. It's about stepping back from friendships where you feel like you have to put on a performance. It's the deep, deep understanding that your inner peace is worth way more than a packed social calendar.
Now for a fundamental building block of communication. These two phrases, thank you and I'm sorry, are so simple. But the real power is in how you say them, quickly, honestly, and with zero defensiveness. They're like these little tools you can use to cut right through ego and create space for a real connection.
You see, when you use them like that, thank you and I'm sorry, stop being just polite things you're supposed to say. They become personal anchors. They're tools that help you take responsibility and keep you grounded in reality, especially when things get a little heated or emotional. They hold you to your own integrity.
So, we've cleared the site with our I don'ts, and we've laid the foundation with our I do's. Now it's time to step back and take a look at the whole blueprint. How do all these small individual choices start to come together to create a life that actually has a coherent, intentional structure?
And this is probably the most important idea of all. What we're talking about here isn't some rigid list of rules you have to follow perfectly. It's not about trying to be a good person based on someone else's definition. It's a flexible, personal framework that's built on just one thing: your own intention.
So here's the official definition we're working with. Think of it like this. It's the difference between following a recipe somebody else wrote versus learning the principles of cooking so you can create your own amazing dishes. This is all about designing a way of living that is uniquely, totally yours, aligned with your values.
So in the end, you're the architect. It's that simple. You're the one who looks at the site of your life and decides what harmful things need to be removed. You choose the strong, foundational materials that are going to ground you. And then, brick by brick, you build a life, not by accident, but by your own purposeful design.
So listen, the point of all this isn't to perfectly copy this exact framework. It's to use these ideas to start building your own. And it starts small, really small. So what is one I don't or one I do that really speaks to you right now? What is the very first brick you want to lay down in your own architecture of intention?